The stars looked different here, Jake Morrison thought as he stared through the viewport of the transport shuttle. After 3 months of faster-than-light travel, the human delegation had finally reached Cathari space. The crystalline station ahead reflected light in ways that seemed impossible, creating rainbows that danced across the black canvas of space. Jake adjusted his armor slightly. The powered suit felt comfortable after years of wearing it, like a second skin. He could feel the hum of the power core against his back, the gentle pressure of the sealed joints. The armor wasn't the most advanced piece of human technology, but it was reliable. That mattered more than fancy features when you were protecting people. Nervous, Commander Lisa Hayes asked from beside him. She wore her dress uniform instead of armor, as befitted her role as second in command of the security detail. Just thinking, Jake replied. This is big. First contact with a major empire. We've met other species before. Not like the Cathari. They've been spacefaring for thousands of years. We've barely had FTL for a decade, Lisa nodded. Ambassador Chen says to be respectful but confident. Show them we're equals even if we're newcomers. Jake smiled slightly. Chenwei was a good man, patient and wise. If anyone could navigate the complexities of alien diplomacy, it was him. Jake's job was simpler. Keep everyone safe and try not to start an interstellar incident. The shuttle docked with a soft thud. The airlock cycled, and Jake felt the change in atmosphere immediately. The Cathari preferred higher humidity and slightly cooler temperatures than humans. Not uncomfortable, just different. He made sure his armor's environmental systems were working properly. They entered the station, and Jake had to stop himself from staring. The corridors weren't corridors at all, not like on human ships. They were flowing spaces carved from some kind of translucent crystal, with water running through channels in the walls. Soft bioluminescent light came from living plants that grew in impossible patterns. Everything curved gracefully, nothing hard or angular. It was beautiful in a way that human engineering never tried to be. The Cathari delegation waited in a vast reception hall. Jake's first glimpse of them took his breath away. They moved like water, their bodies sleek and elegant. Their skin shimmered with subtle colors that shifted as they moved. They wore minimal clothing, gossamer thin materials that seemed more decorative than functional. They didn't need protective gear, Jake realized. Their bodies were perfect for their environment. Ambassador Chen stepped forward and began the formal greetings. Jake and Lisa took positions slightly behind and to the sides, alert but not threatening. Jake scanned the room out of habit, noting exits, potential cover, the positions of Cathari guards. The guards wore no armor either, just ceremonial sashes. They moved with fluid grace that suggested excellent training. Among the Cathari delegation, one figure stood out. She was young, Jake guessed, though alien aging was hard to judge. Her skin glowed with brighter colors than the others, blues and silvers that pulsed gently. She wore elaborate decorative pieces that marked her as important, a princess according to the briefing materials. Princess Vela of House Cathari. The formal reception proceeded smoothly. Speeches were made, gifts exchanged. The Cathari presented crystalline artworks that caught light in mesmerizing ways. The humans offered carefully selected cultural items, music recordings, artwork, samples of Earth flora. Ambassador Chen explained each gift with practiced ease. Jake noticed Princess Vela's attention drift to the human security team. Her large eyes, adapted for underwater vision, studied his armor with what looked like curiosity, or maybe amusement. It was hard to read alien expressions. The reception moved to a dining area. The Cathari had prepared foods compatible with human biology, though the presentation was foreign. Everything was arranged artistically, almost too beautiful to eat. Jake noticed the Cathari barely ate at all, just small ceremonial portions. Their enhanced metabolism probably required little actual food. Princess Vela was seated near the human delegation, part of her diplomatic training according to protocol. She spoke perfect English, her voice musical and clear. "Tell me, Captain Morrison," she said, turning those large eyes toward Jake. "Your armor is quite impressive. Does it provide significant enhancement to your natural abilities?" Jake kept his voice neutral. "It provides protection and some strength augmentation, yes. Standard military issue for security details." "Fascinating." She tilted her head. "Among my people, such things are unnecessary. Our bodies are optimized through generations of genetic refinement. We require no artificial assistance." One of her companions, another young Cathari, made a sound that might have been laughter. Can you imagine needing such bulky equipment just to function normally? Jake felt Lisa tense beside him. He kept his expression calm. Different species, different approaches. Of course, Princess Vela said, but her tone suggested she didn't really believe that. I simply find it curious that humans require such extensive protection. Your species must be quite delicate in natural form. More laughter from the Cathari youngsters around her. It wasn't malicious exactly. More like the thoughtless amusement of those who had never known hardship. They genuinely seemed to view humans as lesser beings, compensating for biological weakness with crude technology. Ambassador Chen smoothly changed the subject, asking about Cathari art and culture. The conversation moved on, but the damage was done. Jake could feel the subtle shift in atmosphere. The Cathari delegation now viewed humans with a mixture of pity and condescension. The reception continued for another hour. Princess Vela and her companions made several more comments, each one slightly dismissive. They wondered aloud how humans survived on their harsh homeworld without genetic advantages. They expressed amazement that humans had achieved spaceflight at all, given their limitations. Each comment was phrased politely, but the underlying message was clear. Humans were inferior, struggling species that got lucky with technology. Jake maintained his professional composure throughout. Years of military discipline kept his face neutral, his posture relaxed. But inside he felt the familiar burn of being underestimated. He'd felt it before, on Earth, when people judged him by appearance rather than capability. This was the same feeling, just on an interstellar scale. When the reception finally ended, the human delegation was escorted to their quarters. The rooms were beautiful, of course, all flowing crystal and gentle light, but Jake barely noticed. He removed his helmet and ran a hand through his short hair. That went well, Lisa said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Ambassador Chen sighed, looking tired. Princess Vela is young. She's never encountered anything that challenged her worldview. The Cathari have been at the top of galactic civilization for so long, they've forgotten what it means to struggle. She called us delicate, Lisa said. She laughed at our armor. She doesn't understand, Chen replied. How could she? Her species eliminated physical challenge from their existence millennia ago. They've never had to push through pain, never had to overcome their biological limits. To them we look weak. Jake walked to the viewport, looking out at the Cathari homeworld below. It was beautiful. A blue-green jewel with carefully managed weather systems and perfect ecosystems. Nothing too hot, nothing too cold. No natural disasters, no dangerous predators. Paradise achieved through technology and genetic mastery. Sir, Jake said quietly, request permission to demonstrate human capabilities. Chen turned to him. What did you have in mind? I don't know yet. But they need to understand that humans aren't weak. We're different. Our strength isn't about genetic perfection or fancy technology. Lisa nodded. He's right. If we let this perception stand, it'll poison every negotiation. They'll never respect us. Chen was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Finally, he nodded. I'll speak with High Admiral Torvik tomorrow. The Cathari military might be more understanding than the young nobility. Perhaps we can arrange some kind of demonstration. That night, Jake lay in the strange Cathari bed, unable to sleep. He kept thinking about Princess Vela's laughter, her casual dismissal of human capability. She thought humans needed armor to be strong. She thought human technology was compensation for weakness. She had no idea. Jake had grown up on Earth in the rugged mountains of Colorado. He'd learned to climb before he could read, learned to endure cold and heat and altitude that would kill most alien species. He'd joined the military at 18 and discovered what his body could really do when pushed. He'd marched through deserts carrying 80 pounds of gear, had stayed awake for 72 hours straight during training exercises, had functioned with injuries that should have put him in a hospital. Humans didn't wear armor because they were weak. They wore armor because without it they were too dangerous. The thought made Jake smile in the darkness. Tomorrow he'd find a way to help Princess Vela understand. Not through words or arguments. Words were easy to dismiss. He'd show her what humanity really meant. He'd show her what happened when a human decided to push through the pain, ignore the limitations, and just keep going. Because that's what humans did. They endured. They persisted. They survived things that should kill them and came back stronger. The Cathari had forgotten that kind of strength existed. The morning on the Cathari station didn't really exist. The lighting system simulated day and night cycles for visiting species. But Jake woke before the artificial sunrise. Old military habits died hard. He did his usual routine, push-ups, sit-ups, stretches. The armor made him stronger, but he never relied on it. His body was his primary tool, and he kept it sharp. Ambassador Chen had called an early meeting. When Jake arrived at the conference room, he found Chen already there with Commander Hayes and several other members of the delegation. "Good news," Chen said. "High Admiral Torvik has agreed to a demonstration exchange. Both species will showcase military capabilities in friendly exercises. He thinks it will build mutual understanding." "And Princess Vela?" Jake asked. Chen smiled slightly. "She insisted on participating. Apparently she wants to prove Cathari superiority in person." Lisa shook her head. "She really doesn't know when to quit." "She's young and confident," Chen said. "The Cathari military is legendary. They've never lost a conflict in recorded history. She has every reason to be confident." "What kind of exercises?" Jake asked. Torvik suggested starting with basic demonstrations. Speed, accuracy, tactical coordination. Then if we're both comfortable, an endurance course. Chen paused. "It's a traditional Cathari test, used to evaluate their elite guards. 8 hours of various physical challenges." Jake felt something stir in his chest. "And they're inviting us to try it?" Inviting might be a strong word. Torvik mentioned it, and Princess Vela immediately suggested humans attempt it. She seemed to think it would be amusing. "Amusing," Lisa repeated, her voice flat. Chen looked at Jake carefully. "You don't have to do this. We can stick to basic demonstrations and keep things simple." Jake thought about Princess Vela's laughter, her casual dismissal. He thought about every time someone had underestimated him. Every time someone assumed the armor made the man instead of the other way around. "I'll do it," he said. The training grounds were enormous, a vast complex that could simulate dozens of different environments. Jake and Lisa arrived with the human delegation to find the Cathari already assembled. Princess Vela stood near High Admiral Torvik, her skin glowing with excited colors. She wore a fitted suit that looked more like art than athletic gear. Torvik stepped forward. He was older, his colors more muted but somehow more commanding. "Welcome, humans. Today we share knowledge of our martial traditions. May both peoples learn from this exchange." The formal speeches were brief, then the demonstrations began. The Cathari went first. Their warriors moved through obstacle courses with impossible grace. They ran at speeds that blurred the eye, leaped distances that defied physics. Their reaction times were measured in milliseconds. They could hold their breath for what seemed like hours, their genetically enhanced lungs processing oxygen with perfect efficiency. Jake watched carefully. It was impressive, undeniably so, but something was missing. The Cathari moved perfectly, but there was no strain, no effort. They performed these incredible feats as easily as humans breathed. For them, it wasn't pushing limits, it was just existing. Princess Vela completed a complex aerial course in under 2 minutes. She landed lightly, barely breathing hard, her colors bright with satisfaction. The Cathari delegation applauded politely. Then came the human demonstrations. Jake and his security team showed tactical coordination, weapons handling, and powered armor capabilities. They were efficient and professional, but compared to Cathari natural abilities, it looked crude. The humans were slower, less graceful. The armor helped, but it was still mechanical assistance versus biological perfection. Jake could see Princess Vela's growing satisfaction. Her earlier assumptions were being confirmed. Humans needed their technology just to match basic Cathari abilities. Then Torvik announced the endurance course. "This challenge has been used by Cathari warriors for centuries," he explained. 8 hours through various environmental conditions. It tests not just physical capability, but mental resilience and adaptability. Princess Vela stepped forward immediately. "I will represent the Cathari." Torvik looked surprised but nodded. The princess was trained even if she'd never seen real combat, and on this course with her enhanced biology she couldn't fail. "Will the humans attempt the course?" Torvik asked diplomatically. Jake stepped forward. "I will." Princess Vela's colors flickered with what might have been amusement. "Captain Morrison, I admire your courage, but this course is designed for Cathari physiology. Even our trainees require years of preparation." "I understand. Your armor will help, certainly," she continued. But I fear even with mechanical assistance, the challenge may be too great. She wasn't being cruel, Jake realized. She genuinely believed she was being kind, warning him away from embarrassment. I appreciate your concern, Princess, Jake said calmly. The course began. Princess Vela entered first, as protocol demanded. Holographic displays showed her progress as she moved through the various segments. She was magnificent to watch, flowing through obstacles like water, adapting instantly to each new challenge. Heat, cold, altitude, underwater sections. Nothing slowed her enhanced body. The Cathari delegation watched with pride. Ambassador Chen watched with careful attention, making mental notes. Commander Hayes watched with growing concern. After exactly 7 hours and 43 minutes, Princess Vela emerged from the final segment. She wasn't even breathing hard. Her colors were vibrant, her movements still fluid. She'd performed flawlessly. The Cathari applauded. Even the humans clapped politely, acknowledging the impressive display. Then it was Jake's turn. He stood at the starting line, feeling the weight of his armor. The power core hummed steadily. Inside the sealed helmet, his breathing was calm. He'd done harder things than this. He'd marched through mountains, survived deserts, endured cold that froze exposed skin in seconds, but not with armor. The armor helped, yes. It made him stronger, faster, more resilient, but it also made him dependent. And Princess Vela needed to understand something fundamental about humanity. She needed to understand that human strength didn't come from technology. Jake reached up and unsealed his helmet. Commander Hayes stepped forward immediately. Captain, what are you doing? Jake removed the helmet completely. The Cathari air hit his face, slightly cool, humid. Continuing, Jake, Lisa said quietly, using his first name for the first time in months. Don't. I need to do this properly, Jake said. He started removing the armor plates piece by piece. The gauntlets, the chest plate, the leg sections. Each piece represented safety, represented enhancement. Each piece came off and was carefully set aside. Ambassador Chen had gone very still. The Cathari delegation watched in confusion. Princess Vela's colors shifted to what might have been concern. Captain Morrison, she said, what are you doing? You cannot attempt the course without protection. You will injure yourself. Jake removed the last piece of armor and stood in his base uniform. Just fabric, no enhancement, no protection. He felt lighter, more himself. The power core's hum was gone. There was just his heartbeat, his breathing, his body. I'm not trying to prove humans are as enhanced as Cathari, Jake said, speaking directly to Princess Vela. I'm trying to show you what humans are without any help at all. He turned and walked to the starting line. High Admiral Torvek spoke urgently. Captain, I must advise against this. The course is designed for enhanced beings. A baseline human could be seriously injured. I understand the risks, Admiral. This is foolish, Princess Vela said, and now her concern seemed genuine. You're going to hurt yourself just to prove a point? Jake looked at her. You laughed at human armor yesterday, Princess. You said we were delicate, that we needed artificial help just to function. I want you to understand something. We don't wear armor because we're weak. We wear it because it's safer for everyone. He stepped to the starting line. The course entrance gaped before him, ready to cycle through 8 hours of hell designed for genetically perfect beings. Jake took a deep breath and began to run. The first segment was obstacles and climbing. Without the armor's strength enhancement, every grip took effort. Every pull used his natural muscle. Jake climbed methodically, finding handholds, testing each one. He was slower than Princess Vela had been, much slower, but he maintained a steady pace. The second segment introduced heat, temperatures that would make most aliens collapse. Jake felt the sweat start immediately, his body's natural cooling system activating. The Cathari had eliminated sweating from their genome generations ago. They considered it primitive. But as Jake pushed through the heat, that primitive system kept his core temperature stable. Hour 1 passed. Jake was behind Princess Vela's time, but still moving. The Cathari delegation watched in growing fascination. This shouldn't be possible. A baseline human unenhanced was attempting their warrior's course. Hour 2 brought extreme cold. Jake felt his body shiver, another primitive response the Cathari had engineered away. But shivering generated heat, kept his muscles functional. He pushed through, his pace never faltering. Princess Vela stood near the monitors watching Jake's progress. Her colors had stopped shifting. She was focused entirely on the screens on this human who refused to quit. Hour 3 introduced altitude simulation, thin air that starved lungs of. The medical bay was unlike any hospital Jake had ever seen. Everything was soft edges and flowing water, with holographic displays showing his vital signs in colors he didn't understand. Qatari physicians moved around him with concerned grace, their long fingers running scanning devices over his injuries. "Your tissue damage is minimal," one physician said, her voice confused, "but you completed the course while accumulating these injuries. This should not be possible." Jake sat up on the examination platform, wincing slightly. His hands were wrapped in some kind of gel bandage that tingled pleasantly. His muscles ached in the good way, the way they always did after hard work. "I've had worse in training." The physician's colors flickered. "Training? Your species trains by causing injury? Not intentionally. But sometimes things happen. You push hard, you get hurt. It's part of learning your limits." "We do not have such training," she said. "Qatari bodies are designed to avoid injury. If training causes damage, the training is flawed." Jake thought about his years in the military. The obstacle courses that left everyone bruised. The long marches that turned feet into masses of blisters. The combat training that occasionally sent people to medical with broken bones. All of it had seemed normal, necessary. How did you learn to function under stress if you never experienced stress? Commander Hayes entered the medical bay, relief clear on her face. "You crazy, stubborn idiot," she said fondly. "Ambassador Chen is having a minor heart attack. You know that, right? I'll apologize later." "No, you won't, because it worked." Lisa pulled up a chair. "The Qatari delegation has been in emergency meetings for the past hour. High Admiral Torvik personally requested all human biological data. They're trying to understand what they just witnessed." Jake flexed his bandaged hands. "They thought we were weak. They thought our technology made us strong. You showed them the technology just makes us stronger." Lisa paused. "Princess Vela has been asking about you." "Is she angry?" "I don't think so. She looked shaken when they carried you out of there." "I walked out," Jake corrected. "Barely. You collapsed about 10 steps from the finish." Lisa studied him. "Was it worth it? Putting yourself through that?" Jake thought about the question. His body hurt, his hands stung, his muscles protested every movement. But he'd seen Princess Vela's face, the growing realization. The moment when she understood she'd been wrong. "Yes," he said. "It was worth it." The door opened again and Princess Vela herself entered. The medical staff immediately bowed, colors shifting respectfully. She waved them away with a gesture and approached Jake's platform. Up close, Jake could see details he'd missed before. Her skin wasn't just colored, it was complex, like looking into deep water. Her eyes were huge and expressive, adapted for underwater vision, but somehow beautiful. She moved with the unconscious grace of someone who had never known physical struggle. "Captain Morrison," she said formally. Jake tried to stand, but she gestured for him to remain seated. She pulled up a chair, mimicking Lisa's earlier action, though her posture was more elegant. "I came to apologize," Princess Vela said. "My behavior at the reception was inappropriate. I made assumptions about your species based on ignorance." "You didn't know," Jake said simply. "That is not an excuse. A diplomat should seek understanding before judgment." She was quiet for a moment, her colors shifting through patterns Jake couldn't read. "I have been researching humanity since you completed the course. The data is disturbing." "Disturbing? You evolved on a death world," she said bluntly. "Your planet experiences temperature extremes that would kill most species. Your atmosphere was toxic for most of your evolutionary history. Your gravity is heavy. Your oceans are filled with predators. Your landmasses suffer constant geological instability." Jake had never thought of Earth that way. "It's home. It is hell," Princess Vela said with feeling. "And humans survived there without genetic modification, without technological advancement for millions of years. You survived by becoming the most persistent predators your world has ever known." "We're not predators," Jake objected. "You are persistence hunters," she continued. "Your ancestors chased prey animals to death by simply refusing to stop. The prey would run, would rest, would run again. Humans would just keep walking. For hours, for days if necessary. You would follow until the prey literally died of exhaustion." Jake had read about that, the theory that early humans hunted by outlasting their quarry. It had always seemed like an interesting footnote. Hearing it from an alien perspective made it sound terrifying. That's ancient history, he said, is it? Princess Vela leaned forward. Captain, you just completed a course designed for genetically enhanced warriors. You did it while injured, while in pain, while your body screamed at you to stop, and you never even considered quitting. That is not ancient history. That is what humans are. What's your point, Princess? Her color shifted to something that might have been fear. My point is that Cathari eliminated these traits from our genome 3,000 years ago. We removed the ability to push through injury, because injury should stop you. We removed high pain tolerance because pain is a warning. We removed the psychological drive to continue past physical limits because those limits exist for a reason. You made yourselves safer, Jake said. We made ourselves weak, she replied. My people have not known true hardship in millennia. We have engineered perfect bodies and perfect worlds. We have forgotten what it means to struggle. She looked at her hands, elegant and unblemished. If our technology failed, if we lost our enhancements, we would die. We have no backup, no natural resilience. Jake started to understand. You think humans are dangerous? I think humans are survivors. There is a difference, but it is a subtle one. Princess Vela met his eyes. Tell me honestly, Captain. If you had to, could you complete that course again tomorrow? Jake considered. His body would recover fast, humans healed quickly. The minor injuries would be gone in days. The muscle soreness would fade overnight. Probably not tomorrow. Give me 3 days. 3 days, she repeated. A Cathari warrior completing that course requires weeks of rest and medical treatment. Our bodies are not designed to recover from such stress. She stood, pacing slightly. Do you understand what this means politically? Militarily? Not really. It means that in a war of attrition humans would win, not through superior technology or tactics, simply by outlasting us. You would keep fighting when we could not. You would function with injuries that would incapacitate us. You would push through conditions that would kill us. We're not looking for war, Jake said firmly. I know. High Admiral Torvek knows. But the Council needs to understand this. She turned back to him. Captain, would you be willing to speak with our leadership? To help them understand humanity. Before Jake could answer, Ambassador Chen entered the medical bay. He looked tired but pleased. Captain Morrison, I'm glad to see you're recovering. Princess Vela, your timing is excellent. High Admiral Torvek has requested a joint meeting with human and Cathari leadership. I was just asking the captain if he would attend. Vela said. Chen looked at Jake. I think your presence would be valuable. The Cathari want to understand what they witnessed today. They have questions about human biology, psychology, and culture. Jake thought about sitting in a room full of alien politicians, probably being studied like a lab specimen. It sounded awful. But if it helped the diplomatic mission, he'd endure worse. I'll do it, he said. The meeting was scheduled for the following day, giving Jake time to recover. That night he lay in his quarters, unable to sleep again. His body was tired enough, but his mind kept racing. Lisa stopped by late in the evening. Couldn't sleep either. Thinking too much, Jake admitted. She sat on the edge of his bed, something she wouldn't have done in more formal circumstances. They'd served together for 3 years, had become friends despite the rank difference. You changed everything today, Lisa said. You know that, right? Before we were the primitive newcomers. Now we're the crazy survivors who don't know when to quit. Is that better? It's honest. And respect built on truth lasts longer than respect built on lies. She was quiet for a moment. What you said to Princess Vela about armor making us kinder. Did you mean that? Jake thought back to those words spoken in pain and exhaustion. Yeah, I meant it. Explain. Humans are good at violence, Jake said slowly. We evolved for it, trained for it, built societies around managing it. The armor, the rules of engagement, the laws of war, all of it exists to channel that violence, to control it. We could fight without those things, but we'd be monsters. The Cathari don't have that problem. The Cathari engineered the problem away. They literally removed aggressive instincts from their genetics. They're pacifist by design, not by choice. Jake sat up despite the protest from his muscles. I'm not saying our way is better. But it's real. Every day, every human chooses not to be violent. That choice matters. Lisa nodded slowly. And now the Cathari are afraid because they realize we're making that choice. Not forced into it. Maybe. Or maybe they're just realizing we're more complicated than they thought. Jake, Lisa said seriously, tomorrow they're going to ask you difficult questions. about human capacity for violence, for endurance, for pushing past normal limits. They're going to want to know what. The council chambers were enormous, carved from a single piece of crystal that caught light from 1,000 angles. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing data streams Jake couldn't begin to understand. Cathari counselors sat in a circular arrangement, their positions marked by floating platforms that adjusted to their preferred heights. Jake stood in the center with Ambassador Chen and Commander Hayes. His hands were still bandaged, though the Cathari medicine had healed most of the damage overnight. The cuts were gone, leaving only faint pink lines that would fade in another day. Impressive technology, but it made Jake wonder. If Cathari never really got hurt, did they understand pain at all? High Admiral Torvek stood to address the council. Honored members, we are here to discuss the implications of first contact with humanity. What we learned yesterday requires careful consideration. An elderly Cathari counselor, her colors faded to pale silvers, spoke. We watched the human complete our warrior's course. It should not have been possible for an unenhanced being. That's what we believed, Torvek agreed. But our beliefs were based on our own experience. Cathari evolved past such challenges millennia ago. We forgot that other species might have taken different paths. Princess Vela sat among the junior observers, a courtesy extended to her as part of her training. She watched Jake intently, her colors subdued and thoughtful. Another counselor spoke, younger, his colors bright with agitation. Admiral, you sent us the human biological data. It's disturbing. They evolved in conditions that would kill most known species. Their capacity for pain tolerance, for functioning while injured, it's excessive. Excessive by our standards, Torvek said calmly. Necessary by theirs. But what does this mean for peaceful coexistence? If humans can endure such hardship, what kind of conflicts might they be capable of? Ambassador Chen stepped forward slightly. May I address that concern? The senior counselor gestured permission. Chen bowed respectfully. Counselors, I understand your concern. Humanity's capacity for endurance does imply a capacity for sustained conflict, but I would ask you to consider context. Chen gestured, and a hologram appeared showing Earth. This is our homeworld. We call it Earth or Terra. As you've noted, it's what you might call a death world. The hologram zoomed in, showing various environments. Frozen poles, burning deserts, deep oceans, towering mountains. Humans evolved in all of these environments, Chen continued, without genetic modification. Without advanced technology, we survived by being adaptable, persistent, and stubborn. Yes, this means we can endure hardship, but it also means we understand hardship. He changed the hologram to show human history, cities rising and falling, wars fought and ended, disasters survived. We know what suffering looks like because we've experienced it. Every human culture, every human civilization has stories about overcoming adversity. It's central to our identity. Chen paused. And because we know suffering, we try to prevent it. The agitated counselor wasn't satisfied. Noble words, Ambassador. But Captain Morrison didn't just endure your warrior's course. He did it while injured, in pain, without any enhancement. That speaks to a species that can ignore physical limitations. How do we defend against that? You don't, Jake said quietly. The chamber went silent. Jake realized he'd spoken out of turn, but Ambassador Chen nodded encouragingly. Captain Morrison, the senior counselor said. Please elaborate, Jake took a breath. Public speaking wasn't his strength, but honesty was. Counselor, you can't defend against human persistence because it's not an attack. It's just how we are. You're thinking about this wrong. How should we think about it? The Cathari are one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. You've achieved things humanity can barely imagine. Your technology, your culture, your society, it's all incredible. Jake gestured around the crystal chamber. But you did it by removing challenges. You engineered perfect bodies. You built perfect worlds. You eliminated struggle. Is this not wise? Another counselor asked. It's one path, Jake said. But it's not the only path. Humans kept the struggle. We could have modified ourselves. We're learning that technology now. But we chose not to. We chose to stay human with all our limitations. Why? Princess Vela asked from her observation seat. Why choose pain over perfection? Jake looked at her. Because the pain makes us appreciate the peace. Because struggle gives meaning to success. Because if everything is easy, nothing matters. Poetic, the agitated counselor said, but not practical, isn't it? Commander Hayes spoke up. Counselors, may I share something? Yesterday, watching Captain Morrison on that course, I was terrified. Not because I thought he'd fail, but because I knew he wouldn't stop even if he should. That's what humans do. We push past the point of wisdom. She pulled up her own holographic display showing human exploration history. Humans crossed oceans without knowing what was on the other side. We climbed mountains because they were there. We went to space knowing we might die. We've always pushed boundaries, not because we're stupid, but because we're curious and stubborn. This makes you dangerous, the agitated counselor insisted. To ourselves, mostly, Hayes replied. Counselors, humans are dangerous in the same way any tool is dangerous. Used properly, with wisdom and restraint, we're valuable. Used improperly, we're destructive. The same is true of any species. High Admiral Torvek spoke again. I've served in the Cathari military for 200 years. I've seen many species, many civilizations. Humans are unusual, yes, but they're not unique in their capacity for violence. They're unique in their capacity to choose peace despite being built for war. You trust them, the senior counselor said. Not a question. I respect them, Torvek corrected, and I believe we have more to learn from them than to fear. The senior counselor turned to Jake. Captain Morrison, I will ask you directly. If humanity and the Cathari Empire came into conflict, what would happen? Jake felt the weight of the question. The honest answer was complex, maybe too complex for this moment. But they'd asked for honesty. We'd lose, Jake said simply. The counselor's colors flickered with surprise. The senior counselor leaned forward. Explain. The Cathari Empire is vast, ancient, technologically superior. You have thousands of worlds, billions of citizens, weapons we can't match. Humanity has dozens of colonies, a few billion people, and technology we're still figuring out. Jake shrugged. In a direct conflict, we'd lose. Yet you don't seem concerned, the agitated counselor said. Because I don't think there will be a conflict, Jake replied. Why would there be? We want trade, cultural exchange, peaceful relations. The Cathari want the same things. Conflict only happens when two sides want mutually exclusive outcomes. But if there were conflict, the counselor pressed, what would humanity do? Jake was quiet for a moment. We'd lose battles. But we wouldn't surrender, even facing extinction. Humans don't surrender, Jake said. It's not in our nature. We'd adapt, we'd hide, we'd fight from the shadows. We'd take years, decades, generations if necessary. We'd make it too expensive to win, too costly to maintain. Eventually, you'd leave us alone, because conquering us wouldn't be worth the price. You're describing terrorism, the counselor said. I'm describing resistance, survival. Jake met the counselor's eyes. But counselor, why are we discussing this? Neither side wants war. This is like asking what would happen if the sun exploded. Technically possible, but pointlessly hypothetical. Ambassador Chen stepped in smoothly. Captain Morrison is correct. These discussions of conflict are unproductive. We're here to build friendship, not plan for war. The senior counselor made a gesture that might have been agreement. You're right, Ambassador. Forgive our paranoia. The Cathari have known peace for so long. The concept of a species capable of extended conflict is foreign to us. It's foreign to humans too, Chen said. We've had peace on Earth for nearly a century now. We've learned that cooperation benefits everyone more than competition. Princess Vela spoke again. Captain Morrison, may I ask about your armor? When you removed it yesterday, you said humans wear it to be kind. What did you mean? Jake appreciated the change in subject. The armor makes us stronger, faster, more durable. But more importantly, it regulates us. The suit has safeties, limits, controls. It prevents us from using our full strength in situations where we shouldn't. I don't understand, another counselor said. Why would you need limitations? Because without them, we'd hurt people accidentally, Hayes explained. Humans evolved as hunters and fighters. Our strength-to-weight ratio is high for our size. Our bone density is extreme compared to most species. We can generate tremendous force. The armor channels that force controls it. Show me, the senior counselor said. Jake looked at Ambassador Chen, who nodded permission. Jake walked to the edge of the platform and jumped down, a drop of about 3 meters. He landed lightly, his knees absorbing the impact easily. The Cathari counselor's colors flickered with surprise. Without genetic enhancement, that fall should have required careful landing. Jake had done it casually. Human bone density, Jake said, climbing back up. We evolved to run long distances over rough terrain. Our skeletal structure is built to handle impact. He held out his hand, showing the faded scars. We're also designed to heal from injuries. These cuts were deep yesterday. Today, Jake woke to urgent knocking on his door. He rolled out of bed automatically, years of military training bringing him to full alertness in seconds. The station's lighting indicated early morning by human standards. Commander Hayes stood outside, still in her sleeping clothes. Emergency meeting. Ambassador Chen wants everyone in the conference room now. What happened? Don't know. But Torvik requested the meeting, not Chen. Something's going on. 10 minutes later, the human delegation assembled in their conference room. Ambassador Chen looked tired, but not particularly worried. High Admiral Torvik appeared on a holographic display, his colors dim in what might have been fatigue or stress. Ambassador Chen, thank you for responding quickly, Torvik said. I apologize for the early hour, but the Council has been in continuous session since yesterday's meeting. There have been developments. What kind of developments? Chen asked carefully. The kind that require immediate decisions. Torvik paused. The Council is divided. Some members see humanity as a valuable potential ally. Others see you as a threat to galactic stability. The debate has grown heated. Jake felt his stomach tighten. They'd come so far, done so much, and now politics might ruin everything. What's the concern? Chen asked. Fear, Torvik said simply. Not of human aggression, but of human example. You see, Ambassador, the Cathari Empire is built on certain principles. We believe that advancement means transcending physical limitations through technology and genetic modification. We believe that civilization requires eliminating base instincts like aggression and competitive drive. And humans challenge those principles, Chen said. Understanding? Precisely. Your species proves that advancement doesn't require genetic modification. You've achieved civilization while retaining your natural biology. Some counselors worry about what this means for our own people. You think humans will influence Cathari culture? Hayes asked. It's already happening. Since Captain Morrison's demonstration, young Cathari have been requesting information about human training methods. They want to know if it's possible to develop natural resilience even with our modified biology. Torvik's colors shifted. The Council is concerned about social disruption. Jake spoke up. Admiral, humans aren't trying to change Cathari culture. We respect your choices, I know, Captain, but ideas are contagious. Princess Vela has been the most vocal advocate for deeper human Cathari cooperation. She's convinced others of her generation that humanity has something valuable to teach us. Torvik leaned forward in the hologram. The conservative faction wants to limit contact with humanity, establish trade relations but restrict cultural exchange. The progressive faction wants full integration, with humans serving as teachers and advisors. And you? Chen asked. I'm military, not political, but I believe limiting contact would be a mistake. Humanity exists now. Ignoring you won't change that. Better to engage honestly and learn from each other. What do you need from us, Admiral? The Council has agreed to allow Princess Vela to visit Earth as part of a cultural exchange program. She'll observe human society, human training methods, human civilization. Her report will influence the Council's final decision on Cathari-human relations. Chen looked thoughtful. That's actually a good idea. Seeing Earth would give her perspective. There's a complication, Torvik said. The conservative faction insists on sending a military observer as well. Someone skeptical of humanity, to provide balance to Princess Vela's enthusiasm. Who? Captain Dravik, a decorated warrior, highly experienced and deeply committed to traditional Cathari values. He believes genetic enhancement is the only path to true advancement. He views humanity as an evolutionary dead end. Jake could see where this was going. And you want me to escort them? Both delegations have requested you specifically, Captain. Princess Vela trusts you. Captain Dravik wants to test you. He believes your performance on the warrior's course was exaggerated or somehow falsified. It was recorded, Hayes protested. He thinks humans modified the recordings, or that you used hidden enhancements. Torvik looked apologetic. I know it's insulting, but allowing him to verify your capabilities personally might settle the matter. Ambassador Chen thought for a moment. Admiral, I'll need to consult with Earth Command about hosting a Cathari delegation. But assuming they approve, what's your timeline? As soon as possible. The Council wants to reach a decision within the next lunar cycle. Torvik's image flickered slightly. Ambassador, I should warn you. Captain Dravik is not like Princess Vela. He won't be easily convinced. He spent his entire life believing in Cathari superiority. Challenging that belief will be difficult. We're not trying to challenge anything, Chen said. We're just being ourselves. Sometimes that's the most challenging thing of all. The hologram ended. The human delegation sat in silence for a moment. Well, Hayes said finally, this got complicated. It was always going to be complicated, Chen replied. First contact with a major civilization was never going to be simple. He looked at Jake. Captain, how do you feel about playing tour guide to 2 Cathari? Jake shrugged. If it helps the mission, I'll do it. But sir, what happens if Captain Dravik remains unconvinced? If he reports back that humans are dangerous? Then we'll deal with that when it happens. For now, let's focus on showing the Cathari who humans really are. Chen stood. I'll contact Earth Command and arrange the visit. Jake, start thinking about what aspects of human culture you want to show them. Over the next 2 days, arrangements were made. Earth Command approved the visit, seeing it as an opportunity to strengthen the relationship with the Cathari Empire. A diplomatic ship was prepared for the journey back to Earth. Princess Vela was excited, her colors bright with anticipation. She'd been studying human culture obsessively, learning about Earth's history, its diverse environments, its varied societies. Captain Dravik was her opposite. He was older, his colors muted and controlled. His body showed the results of military discipline, enhanced muscle definition, perfect posture. He moved with deadly precision. When Jake met him, Dravik's first words were skeptical. So you're the human who completed our warrior's course, Dravik said, his voice flat. Unenhanced. Yes, sir, Jake replied, treating him with military courtesy. I find that difficult to believe. The recordings are available. Recordings can be altered. I'll need to verify your capabilities personally. Jake kept his voice neutral. How would you like to do that? On Earth, in your natural environment. If humans are truly as resilient as claimed, you should be able to demonstrate it in your own territory. That can be arranged, Ambassador Chen interjected. Captain Morrison will be happy to show you human training facilities. The journey to Earth took 3 weeks. The diplomatic ship was a human vessel, smaller and less elegant than Cathari ships but functional. Princess Vela spent most of the journey asking questions, learning about human customs, trying human food with mixed results. Captain Dravik spent the journey studying human military history. He watched recordings of human wars, human battles, human conflicts. His expression never changed, but Jake could sense his growing concern. Humans had spent a lot of their history fighting each other. The records were brutal. Your species is very violent, Dravik said one evening in the common area. Jake was eating dinner, standard military rations that the Cathari found unappetizing. We're working on being better. Working on it implies you're not there yet. No species is perfect. We're trying to improve. The Cathari improved by removing violence from our nature. You're trying to keep the violence and just control it better. That seems inefficient. Jake thought about his response carefully. Maybe, but controlling violence by choice means something. It means every day every human decides to be peaceful. That decision matters, does it? If the capacity for violence remains, the decision is always temporary. All decisions are temporary. Life is temporary. That doesn't make decisions meaningless. Dravik's colors shifted slightly. You're more philosophical than expected for a soldier. Soldiers think a lot. We have to, given what we do. Princess Vela joined them, settling into a chair with her characteristic grace. Captain Dravik, have you decided what test you want Captain Morrison to perform? Several tests, Dravik replied. I want to see human capabilities in multiple contexts. Endurance, yes. But also pain tolerance, injury recovery, and psychological resilience. That sounds like you're trying to break him, Vela said, her colors showing disapproval. I'm trying to verify the claims. If humans are truly as resilient as suggested, my tests shouldn't break him. If they do, then humanity has been exaggerating its capabilities. Jake finished his meal and stood. Captain Dravik, I'll submit to whatever tests you design. But I have one condition. What condition? You participate in them as well. If you want to test human limits, you should experience them yourself. Dravik's colors flickered with what might have been amusement or anger. I'm enhanced. Such tests would be trivial for me. Then they should be easy, right? No risk to you. Vela's colors brightened with delight. That's fair, Captain Dravik. If you're testing Captain Morrison, you should experience the same conditions. Dravik was silent for a long moment. Agreed, we'll both perform the tests. If you fail and I succeed, it proves human limitations. If we both Earth looked even more beautiful than Jake remembered. 6 months away had made him appreciate the planet in ways he'd never considered before. The blues of the oceans, the greens and browns of the continents, the white swirls of clouds. It looked peaceful from orbit. Jake knew better. The diplomatic ship landed at a military facility in the Rocky Mountains of North America. Jake had requested this location specifically. If Captain Dravik wanted to test human capabilities in their natural environment, the mountains were perfect. High altitude, extreme weather, rough terrain. The place that had shaped Jake as a young man. Princess Vela stepped off the ship and immediately stumbled. The gravity hit her hard. Earth's gravity was 30% higher than standard Cathari worlds. Her enhanced body adapted quickly, but Jake saw the momentary struggle. Captain Dravik showed no reaction to the gravity, but Jake noticed the slight adjustment in his posture. Enhanced or not, the weight was noticeable. "Welcome to Earth," Ambassador Chen said warmly. A delegation of human officials waited to greet them, including several military officers. Formal pleasantries were exchanged. Jake stood in his standard uniform, no armor. He'd left the powered suit behind deliberately. Whatever tests Dravik had planned, Jake would face them as nature made him. After the formal welcome, they were taken to the base commander's office. Colonel Martinez was a weathered woman in her 50s, a veteran of the colonial conflicts. She shook hands with the Cathari visitors, though they found the gesture awkward. "Captain Dravik," Martinez said. "Captain Morrison tells me you want to test human capabilities?" "Correct," Dravik replied. "I've designed several scenarios that will verify whether humans possess the resilience they claim." "What kind of scenarios?" Dravik pulled up a holographic display. First, an endurance run through mountain terrain, 30 kilometers high altitude, carrying standard military load. Second, a cold exposure test, 6 hours in sub-freezing conditions with minimal protection. Third, a pain tolerance assessment under controlled conditions. Fourth, an injury recovery observation over several days. Colonel Martinez whistled softly. "That's harsh." "If humans are truly as capable as suggested, these tests should be manageable," Dravik said. "And you'll be participating?" Martinez asked. Captain Morrison insisted. "Good. I like fair tests." Martinez turned to Jake. "Captain, are you sure about this?" Jake nodded. "Yes, ma'am. I can handle it. You know these mountains better than anyone. But still, 30 kilometers at altitude while carrying 40 kilos, that's not easy even for you." "I've done harder, ma'am." Martinez looked skeptical but nodded. "All right. We'll start tomorrow at dawn. Give both of you today to acclimate to Earth conditions." That evening, Jake took Vela on a tour of the base. She was fascinated by everything, asking endless questions. The building seemed crude to her compared to Cathari architecture. The food was too heavy, too simple. But she approached everything with genuine curiosity. They stood on an overlook, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold and red. "It's beautiful," Vela said softly, "but harsh. I can feel the gravity pulling at me constantly. The air is thin here. And you say the temperature will drop below freezing tonight?" "Welcome to Earth," Jake said with a slight smile. "This is actually one of the nice parts. What are the harsh parts like?" "Depends. Desert regions where the temperature hits 50 degrees Celsius. Arctic regions where it drops to -50. Ocean storms that can sink ships. Earthquakes that level cities. Volcanic eruptions, hurricanes, tornadoes." Jake shrugged. "Earth tries to kill you in creative ways. Yet humans love it. It's home. You learn to respect it, adapt to it, survive it. That's what makes you human." Vela was quiet for a moment. "Jake, do you think Captain Dravik will accept your capabilities even if you pass his tests?" "Honestly? I don't know. Some people see what they want to see, regardless of evidence. He seems very committed to proving humans are inferior." "Not inferior, just not special. He wants to believe that enhancement is the only path to true capability." Jake looked at the darkening mountains. Maybe he's right. Maybe natural resilience doesn't matter in a galaxy full of enhanced beings. You don't believe that? No. But I understand why he does. The Cathari spent thousands of years perfecting themselves. Admitting that unenhanced beings can match their capabilities challenges everything they built their society on. "What will you do if you fail tomorrow?" Jake considered the question. "Try again. Humans are good at that." Dawn came cold and clear. Jake and Dravik stood at the starting line of the mountain course. Both wore minimal clothing, just enough to prevent immediate hypothermia. Both carried 40-kilogram packs loaded with standard military gear. Colonel Martinez explained the rules. 30 kilometers through marked mountain trails. Altitude ranges from 2,000 to 3,000 meters. Weather forecast shows temperatures between -5 and +10 Celsius. Any questions? No, both men said simultaneously. Then begin when ready. Dravik started immediately, moving at a strong pace. His enhanced body handled the weight easily. Jake let him go, setting his own rhythm. This wasn't a sprint. This was endurance. The first hour was relatively easy. The trail climbed steadily through pine forests. The altitude made breathing harder, but Jake's lungs were used to mountain air. He'd grown up in these mountains, had run these trails since childhood. Dravik maintained his lead, but Jake noticed something. The Cathari captain's pace was too fast. He was treating this like a race, not an endurance test. Enhanced muscles could maintain high output, but even they had limits. Hour 2 brought them above the tree line. The wind picked up, bitter cold. Jake adjusted his pace to conserve energy while generating enough body heat to stay warm. Dravik continued his aggressive pace. By hour 3, Jake saw Dravik starting to struggle. The enhanced Cathari was still moving well, but his rhythm was off. The altitude was affecting him despite his superior lungs. The cold was seeping through his minimal clothing. The pack, which should have been trivial for enhanced strength, was becoming a burden. Jake maintained his steady pace. He wasn't gaining on Dravik, but he wasn't falling behind either. Hour 4 brought the highest altitude point. The air was thin enough that every breath required conscious effort. Jake's head pounded slightly from altitude sickness, but he pushed through. His body knew how to function with less oxygen. Every cell had evolved for this. Dravik stumbled. Just slightly, just once. But Jake saw it. The descent began. This should have been easier, but Jake knew better. Downhill running with weight destroyed knees and ankles. You had to be careful, controlled. Dravik started moving faster, probably trying to regain his lead. Jake maintained his pace. Steady, controlled, sustainable. Hour 5. Dravik's lead was shrinking. The Cathari captain was visibly tired now. His enhanced body was struggling with factors it wasn't designed for. The altitude, the cold, the sustained effort at Earth gravity. Hour 6. Jake passed Dravik on a steep downhill section. He didn't gloat or acknowledge it. He just kept moving. How? Dravik gasped as Jake went by. You're unenhanced. This should be impossible. Jake didn't slow down to answer. He had a pace to maintain. The final kilometers were brutal. Jake's legs screamed, his lungs burned, his pack felt like it had doubled in weight. But he'd felt worse. Basic training had been worse. Deployment in desert regions had been worse. This was hard, but it was familiar hard. He crossed the finish line at 6 hours and 42 minutes. Colonel Martinez was there with medical staff and monitoring equipment. Good run, Captain, Martinez said. How do you feel? Tired, Jake admitted, but functional. Vitals? A medic checked him over. Heart rate elevated but stable. Slight dehydration, minor altitude sickness symptoms. Nothing concerning. They waited for Dravik. He arrived 20 minutes later, stumbling across the finish line and immediately collapsing. Medical staff rushed to him. His vitals were concerning. His enhanced body had pushed too hard for too long and was now crashing. Princess Vela had watched the entire run via drone footage. She rushed to Dravik's side, her colors pale with worry. He'll be fine, the human doctor said. He just needs rest and rehydration. His body went into metabolic shock from the sustained effort. But he's enhanced, Vela protested. This shouldn't happen. Enhanced for what? Jake asked quietly. He'd sat down on a bench, drinking water slowly. Captain Dravik's body is perfect for controlled environments. But Earth isn't controlled. The altitude here is half what his body expects. The gravity is higher than he's used to. The temperature fluctuates wildly. His enhancements weren't designed for this. Dravik, recovering on a medical cot, heard this. His colors were dim, exhausted. You're saying human biology is better suited for Earth. I'm saying human biology evolved on Earth. We're built for this chaos. Jake stretched his sore legs. Captain, your enhancements make you superior in every measurable way. Stronger, faster, more efficient, but they optimize you for specific conditions. Humans aren't optimized for anything. We're just adaptable. You still beat me, Dravik said quietly. I know this terrain. I grew up here. You're on my home ground, Jake paused. But yeah, I beat you. Does that change your mind about humans? Dravik was silent for a long moment. Finally, he said, "It changes something. I need to think about what."